Sunlit porch confessions. Have you ever sat on your porch at dawn, that first sip of coffee still steaming in your hand, and felt the world pause just for you? The kind of morning where the neighborhood is hushed, save for the distant hum of a delivery truck, or the soft coo of mourning doves in the oak tree out back. It's those stolen moments in our American sprawl that pull me back every time. I'm thinking of you right now, sister. Whoever you are out there in the heartland or the humming suburbs of Atlanta or Seattle, maybe wrestling with the remnants of a sleepless night, the kind where worries about the kids' college funds or that lingering ache from a love that didn't quite fit replay, like an old radio station you can't quite tune out. I know that pull because I've been there, curled up in my own quiet kitchen in a small town outside Chicago, the fridge humming like a reluctant companion, wondering if the light at the end of the day was just another headlight passing by. But oh, let me tell you, there's something sacred in that first blush of sunrise filtering through the blinds, isn't there? It's like the universe is leaning in, whispering, "Hey, you've got this." Another chance to weave your story with threads of gold. I remember my own mornings like that, back when I was in my 40s, juggling a part-time gig at the local library and the endless cycle of PTA meetings and soccer practices, feeling like I was pouring from an empty cup. The weight of it all, those unspoken expectations we women carry, from the glossy ads promising eternal youth to the family dinners where you're the glue holding frayed edges together, it pressed down like summer humidity in July. Yet, in those porch confessions, as the sky shifted from navy to rose, I started to feel it. A softening, a remembering that the dawn isn't just light breaking, it's permission to begin again, softer with ourselves. Picture it with me, if you will, not as some far-off fantasy, but right there in your own backyard, maybe with a quilt draped over your knees against the early chill, the scent of dew-kissed grass mingling with your favorite mug's earthy notes. That light, it doesn't demand anything, it just arrives, patient and persistent, touching your skin like an old friend's hand on your shoulder. And in that touch, I found fragments of myself I'd tucked away, the dreamer who once sketched wild ideas in spiral notebooks during lunch breaks, the laugh that bubbled up unbidden at a friend's off-key karaoke in a dive bar on girls' night out. It's funny how America shapes us, isn't it? With its drive-through sunrises and 4th of July barbecues that leave you full but somehow still hungry for more, we learn to rush even our quietest hours. But what if, just for this breath, we lingered? What if we let that rising sun remind us that we've survived every shadow that's come before? From the heartbreak of a divorce, whispered over Chardonnay at book club, to the quiet grief of watching our parents age in assisted living homes across state lines. I've held those pieces, turned them over like smooth river stones, and found they don't cut as deep when bathed in morning's glow. There's a woman I know, let's call her Elena, though her real name is something beautifully ordinary like Sarah from the Midwest, who shared with me over a Zoom call during the pandemic, her voice cracking as she described waking to empty nests, the echo of prom dresses and graduation caps fading into telework screens. "I thought I'd shatter," she said, "but the mornings, they started to feel like mercy." And mercy, my dear, is what this whisper is about. Not some grand epiphany, but the gentle unfurling of what's always been there, waiting beneath the rush. As the light creeps higher, painting the leaves in amber, I want you to feel it in your bones, that quiet thrill of being here, alive in this vast, imperfect country of ours, where road trips to national parks heal more than we admit, and community potlucks stitch us back together. It's in these small rituals, the way you might hum an old Patsy Cline tune under your breath or trace the steam rising from your cup, that the healing sneaks in, unannounced but welcome. I've learned through my own stumbles that it's okay if the tears come with the warmth. They're just the old rain making way for clearer skies. So sit with me here a little longer on this imagined porch that could be yours, and let the dawn do its work. It's not about fixing everything at once. No, that's the trap we fall into, scrolling through Instagram feeds of perfectly filtered lives while our own feels like a half-knit sweater. Instead, it's about allowing, about saying yes to the light that finds you anyway, even on days when the coffee's too bitter or the headlines too heavy. I recall a fall morning in New England, leaves crunching underfoot as I walked the dog, the air crisp with that promise of change, and in that simple rhythm of pause on pavement, I heard it. My heart, steady as a metronome, beating out a rhythm of enough. Enough grace for the bills stacking on the counter. Enough love for the friend who's drifted but might call back. Enough me to face the mirror without flinching. And you, with your own stories etched in laugh lines and worry creases, you have that too. As the sun climbs a fraction higher, warming the chill from your fingers, imagine it seeping in, not as a flood, but a slow pour, filling the corners you've kept shadowed, the ones from late-night shifts at the diner, feet aching in sensible shoes, or the holidays where you smile through the ache of absent chairs at the table. I've been that woman, plating turkey with trembling hands, wondering if joy was reserved for someone else. But dawn, oh dawn, it equalizes us all, doesn't it? From the high rises of New York to the wide-open ranches of Montana, it rises the same, indifferent to zip codes or bank balances, offering its glow like a shared secret, among women who've learned to rise with it. Let it remind you of the strength in your shoulders, the kind that carried grocery bags up 3 flights without complaint, or the tenderness in your palms that soothed a fevered brow through flu seasons and fevers of the soul. This is our inheritance, passed down from mothers and grandmothers who baked pies for church socials and mended hymns by lamplight, their whispers now echoing in ours. So as the birdsong swells, tentative at first, then bold, let it stir something in you, a flicker, a flame that says, "Today, I choose the light, not because it's easy, but because I've earned it." And in that choice, sister, we heal, one golden ray at a time. Echoes of golden warmth. Oh, the way that warmth settles, doesn't it? Like slipping into your favorite flannel shirt on a crisp autumn morning, the one that's softened from years of wear, hugging you just right without a single seam out of place. I can almost taste it now, that subtle shift as the sun's embrace moves from your face down to your collarbone, easing the knots we carry from yesterdays that linger too long. Back in my 30s, living in a cramped apartment in Austin with traffic roaring like a constant underscore to my dreams, I'd steal these moments before the alarm's shrill call, lying there with the blinds cracked just enough to let the gold in. It was my rebellion, against the spreadsheets that defined my days and the dates that fizzled into polite goodbyes over Tex-Mex takeout. That warmth, it became my anchor, a reminder that beneath the hustle of happy hours and half marathons we sign up for to prove something to ourselves, there's a core that's always known how to glow. I think of you in those echoes, perhaps in your own ritual, maybe a yoga mat unrolled in the living room after the kids have tumbled out the door, or a solitary drive down Route 66 remnants, windows down, wind-whipping stories from your hair. America's got this way of amplifying our inner worlds, doesn't she? With her neon-lit diners open all night for those 2 a.m. heart-to-hearts and her fall foliage tours that turn country roads into cathedrals of color, she invites us to feel deeply, to let the warmth echo back what we've buried. I remember a women's retreat in the Smoky Mountains, the kind advertised in those glossy magazines at the dentist's. Circle of strangers turned sisters around a fire pit, sharing how the corporate ladder we climbed left splinters in our souls. One woman, a teacher from Ohio with laugh lines like parentheses around her eyes, spoke of her mother's old locket, passed down with a note inside, "Warmth is your birthright." And as the flames danced, mimicking that inner glow, I felt it ripple through us all, an echo of survivals, from miscarriages mourned in silence during baby showers to career pivots that felt like free falls over Niagara. That golden warmth isn't flashy, it's faithful, seeping into the spaces where doubt has camped, out like ivy reclaiming an abandoned Victorian. I've let it echo in me through breakups that echoed in empty half closets, the scent of his cologne fading like a ghost, and through triumphs too. The day I stood in a cap and gown at 45, diploma in hand, proving to my younger self that reinvention isn't reserved for rom-coms. It's for us, the women who balance checkbooks by flashlight during power outages and whisper encouragements to reflections that stare back weary but willing. Feel it now, that echo building, not as a roar, but a hum, vibrating from your chest outward, touching the edges of your life like sunlight on picket fences after a storm. In the South, we call it that Southern hospitality of the soul, but it's universal, this warmth, showing up in potluck casseroles at funerals and midnight texts from long-lost roommates checking in. I've chased it across states, from California's fog-shrouded coasts where I learned to surf my fears to the Midwest blizzards that taught me warmth is as much made as given. And you, with your own map of echoes, perhaps the lullabies you sang to babies now too big for bedtime stories, or the recipes stained with tears and turmeric from Diwali dinners adapted for potlucks, carry it too. Let it amplify, this golden thread, weaving through the ordinary miracles, the barista who remembers your order on rough mornings, the wildflower blooms pushing through sidewalk cracks in urban jungles. It's in these that healing hums, a quiet symphony we've all conducted at some point, baton in hand, even when the orchestra faltered. I once sat with a group at a book club in Denver, noses buried in novels about resilient heroines, and as the wine flowed, so did the stories of loves lost to deployments, dreams deferred for diaper changes, and the warmth that pulled us through echoing like a favorite song on repeat. That night, under star-pricked skies, I realized it's not about silencing the echoes of pain. It's about letting the warmth harmonize with them, turning discord into something bearable, beautiful even. So lean into it. Let that glow pulse through your veins like the first coffee kick after a long night, awakening not just your body, but the parts of you that have been waiting, patient as prairie grass, for their cue. We've earned this resonance through boardroom battles and backyard weddings, through the quiet revolutions of choosing joy over just getting by. As the warmth deepens, imagine it tracing the lines of your palms, the ones that have signed leases on new chapters and clasped hands in prayer circles at women's marches. It's yours, this echo, soft, insistent, a promise that the light within mirrors the one without, and together they sing of days yet to unfold, rich with possibility. In the hush of your own echoing heart, find the melody that's always been yours, and let it carry you forward, one warm note at a time. Threads of awakening. Grace. Grace. It's such a slippery word, isn't it? We toss it around like confetti at weddings, those big American affairs with fireworks and first dances under string lights. But when it comes to weaving it into our own unraveling threads, it feels more like learning to knit with tangled yarn on a rainy Tuesday. I was 38, I think, staring at the ceiling fan in my Phoenix bedroom, blades whirring like unanswered questions after my husband packed his bags for a job across the country. Grace then was just surviving the grocery runs alone, the cartwheels squeaking accusations in the fluorescent aisles of Safeway. But awakening to it? That came in fragments, like the way dawn threads pink through monsoon clouds, subtle until suddenly the whole sky is alight. I'm sharing this with you because I see you in those threads, maybe pausing mid-morning rush in your Seattle minivan, latte cooling as you scroll through emails that blur into one another, or in the quiet of a Nashville home office, guitar leaning forgotten in the corner while lesson plans pile up. We've all got our tangles. The ex who texts sporadically like a bad habit, the body that shifted after babies or birthdays, reminding us we're not the 20-somethings chasing tailgates and tailwinds anymore. Yet, in the grace of awakening, those threads don't snap. They soften, revealing patterns we couldn't see in the dark. Picture a women's circle I joined in Portland, the kind with herbal teas steaming and journals open like confessions, strangers at first, then mirrors, each sharing how grace snuck in during rock bottom, a divorce finalized on Valentine's, sealed with a notary stamp and a sister's hug, a layoff letter arriving the same week as a positive pregnancy test, turning terror to tentative hope. One, a nurse from the Bay Area with hands calloused from endless shifts, spoke of threading grace through IV lines and midnight vigils, finding in each pulse a reminder that we're all just fragile fabrics, mending under careful fingers. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? In this land of reinvention, from Silicon Valley startups to Southern revival tents, we learn grace isn't given. It's gathered, stitch by stitch, from the scraps of what was. I've threaded mine through cross-country moves, trading city lights for suburban fireflies, and through the ache of empty nests when my daughter flew to college in Boston, her room echoing with the ghost of laughter and laundry. Awakening came in the doing, planting herbs on the windowsill, their green shoots pushing up like defiant prayers, or joining a book swap at the local indie where stories swapped hands like lifelines. It's in those small graces that the threads align, forming tapestries of who we're becoming. The woman who now leads hikes for single moms in the Appalachians, turning trails into therapy. The artist in Miami who paints sunrises over her scars, each stroke a reclamation. And you, with your own loom of life, perhaps the threads of a career paused for caregiving, woven, back with late-night online courses, or the grace of forgiving a friend over margaritas at a summer solstice gathering. Hold that power too. Let it awaken now, this grace, not as a thunderclap but a murmur, threading through your breath like silk on skin, smoothing the rough edges of regrets from high school reunions where old flames flicker but don't reignite. I've felt it in the sway of line dances at county fairs, hips loosening to fiddles and steel guitars, bodies remembering joy before minds could argue. Grace threads us to our ancestors too, the great-grandmothers who canned peaches in Georgia heat, their hands gnarled but sure, passing down not just recipes but resilience. In awakening to it, we honor that lineage, weaving our modern messes, social media scrolls that steal sleep, traffic jams that test tempers, into something stronger, more luminous. Imagine it coiling around your wrists like bracelets from a flea market find, cool metal warming to your pulse, a tangible tie to the grace that's always been weaving you. It's okay if the pattern wobbles. That's the authenticity of it, the human hue in our quilts. As the threads pull taut, then release, feel the awakening bloom, a quiet flowering in your chest, petals unfurling to the sun's patient gaze. We've chased grace through therapy couches in LA and prayer beads in quiet Quaker meetings, through the roar of NASCAR crowds and the hush of library nooks, and each chase has left us richer, threads glinting with the patina of lived truth. So trust the weave, sister. Let it carry the weight you no longer need to shoulder alone, turning solitary strands into a shared shawl, warm against the autumn of our years. In this awakening, we find not perfection, but presence. The grace to sip that second cup slowly, to laugh at the mirror's honest gaze, to step into the day with threads of light trailing behind like a comet's tail. And in that step, healing happens, soft as dawn's first thread across the sky, heart's quiet reverence. There's a reverence in the heart's quiet, you know. the kind that settles like dust motes in a sunbeam, undisturbed, holy in its simplicity. I felt it first in my 50s, on a bench in Central Park during a rare solo trip to New York, city sirens fading to a hum as I closed my eyes, the park's pulse syncing with mine, a reverence born from years of noise, the clamor of open houses selling homes that weren't quite right, the polite nods at cocktail parties where small talk masked bigger longings. Now, as I whisper this to you, I imagine you in your own sacred hush, perhaps in a hammock strung between birches in the Adirondacks, leaves rustling like pages turning, or at your kitchen table in Dallas, flour dusted from baking scones for a book club brunch, the oven's warmth a stand-in for the one you're rediscovering inside. Our hearts, they've weathered so much, haven't they? The quiet after-arguments that echo through ranch-style walls, the reverence of holding space for a friend's cancer battle over shared slices of key lime pie at beachside cafes. Mine learned reverence the hard way, through a miscarriage in my early 40s, the ultrasound room's silence louder than any scream, teaching me to bow to the ache rather than battle it. But oh, the quiet that followed, sitting cross-legged on my yoga mat in the garage, surrounded by boxes of half-packed dreams, I found a reverence there, heart unfolding like a fern in filtered light, petal by petal. It's that same quiet I offer you now, not as instruction, but as echo, a shared breath in the vastness of our American tapestry, where women's hearts beat in rhythm with everything from quilting bees in Amish country to poetry slams in Brooklyn basements. Picture the reverence in a Mother's Day tea at the local garden club, hats perched jauntily as stories spill, tales of first heartbreaks patched with ice cream and inside jokes, of careers bloomed late like desert wildflowers after rain. One woman there, a retired banker from Philly with a voice like aged bourbon, confessed her heart's quiet after widowhood. "It's not empty," she said. "It's reverent, like a chapel after the congregation leaves." And in that, I saw my own reflections, the reverence of forgiving my body for stretch marks mapping motherhood's marathons, or of releasing a sibling rift over Thanksgiving turkey gone cold. Hearts quiet in reverence when we allow them to, don't they? In the pause between PTA fundraisers and Pilates classes, in the glow of fireflies at block parties where neighbors become confidants. I've cultivated mine through solo road trips along the Pacific Coast Highway, windows down to salt air and self-forgiveness, the ocean's roar a hymn to what's endured. You have your altars too, the locket with a daughter's baby tooth, the playlist of empowerment anthems blasting during commutes through Chicago's gridlock, turning red lights into revelations. Reverence isn't grand gestures. It's the heart's nod to the ordinary sacred. The way your pulse quickens at a stranger's kind word in line at Whole Foods, or steadies during a winter solstice candlelit vigil, flames flickering like inner lights refusing to dim. I've bowed to mine in the aftermath of redundancies, resume in hand but heart whispering, "Rest here, rebuild reverently." And you, navigating midlife's crossroads, empty nests echoing in McMansions, or new nests feathered with second acts, deserve that bow too. Let the quiet wrap you, reverence rising like steam from chamomile in a mug, soothing the edges of anxieties about retirement funds or relationships that shifted like sand dunes in the Dakotas. It's in these moments that healing honors us, heart to heart, across divides of red states and blue, united in the universal thrum of what it means to feel deeply. Remember that women's wellness retreat in Sedona? Vortexes humming with ancient energy, but the real reverence was in tear-streaked circles, hearts bared under red rock skies, sharing how quiet mended what motion couldn't. My own heart reveres the woman I was, the one who danced at weddings with abandon, then wept alone in the car after, grace notes in a symphony of survival. Now, in quiet, it reveres the one emerging, wiser, wearier perhaps, but luminous, threads of silver in her hair like stars charting new skies, So sit with your heart's reverence. Let it murmur of mercies past and promises pending. The job interview that might open doors, the call to a far-flung friend that bridges years. In America's embrace, with her jazz funerals in New Orleans teaching joy and goodbye, and her starlit stargazing in Texas Badlands inviting wonder, we learn hearts quiet not to hide, but to hear. Hear the reverence in your laugh lines, the stories etched there from beach volleyball with girlfriends and bake sales for school bands. It's a quiet power, this ability to revere the mess and the miracle alike, turning heartbeats into hallelujahs. As the sun arcs higher, let that reverence bloom, a quiet garden in your chest, tended with the patience of women who've always known how to nurture from within. And in that bloom, find your way back to yourself, heart hushed but full, ready for whatever the day reveres in you. Whispers of open palms. Open palms, there's poetry in that, isn't there? The simple act of turning them skyward, fingers splayed like invitations to whatever the wind carries, be it pollen from spring lilacs in Virginia gardens, or the faint chill of October fog rolling in from San Francisco Bay. I learned it young, in my 20s, hitchhiking thumb out on a whim across the Southwest, palms open to stranger stories shared over diner coffee. But it deepened later, in my 40s, after a betrayal that closed me like a fist. Palms clenched around resentments until a therapist in Denver, with her kind eyes and essential oil diffuser, coaxed them open again. Let go, she said, and see what fills them. Now, as I share this whisper with you, I see your palms too. Perhaps calloused from gardening in suburban plots or manicured for boardroom handshakes, but always capable of opening to the day's unspoken gifts. Imagine us together in that openness, maybe at a farmer's market in Portland, baskets brimming with heirloom tomatoes and artisan bread, the air thick with basil and banter, where women trade recipes like secrets, palms open to the abundance we so often overlook. America's markets, they're cathedrals of the everyday, aren't they? Stalls groaning under peach pies for county fair ribbons and kale bundles for green smoothies that promise vitality we chase like fireflies. I've opened mine there, post-divorce, buying more than I needed, just to feel the weight lift into something shared. A vendor's smile, a child's sticky hand in mine. Whispers come in those openings, soft as the rustle of tote bags, reminding us we've held too tight, to roles that chafed like ill-fitting heels at galas, to loves that lingered like bad tattoos from spring break flings. One afternoon, in a Santa Fe adobe cafe, palms open around a steaming mug of matcha, I listened to a circle of artists, women in their 60s, easels scarred from decades of doubt, whisper of openings after closures, galleries that rejected, then embraced, bodies that betrayed with hot flashes, then bloomed with bold canvases of self. Palms up, one laughed, and the muse arrives uninvited. That's the magic, sister. The way openness invites not just light, but the whispers of what we've outgrown, drifting away like dandelion seeds on a breeze through Kansas wheat fields. Feel it in yours now, that subtle, unclenching, palms turning up as if to catch rain in a drought-stricken summer, the kind we pray for during backyard barbecues turned prayer meetings. I've whispered to mine through empty nest silences, palms open on the quilt my mother stitched, threads of her life now cradling mine, releasing the guilt of flights not taken sooner. You know these whispers, the ones after children's weddings, where you dance with your son under rented tents in Ohio fields, palms open to the ache sweetness of letting go, or in the hush of a yoga retreat in the Catskills, mats side by side with women who've battled boardrooms and breast cancer, openness the only posture that fits. It's not passive, this palm turning. It's brave, a declaration amid the din of Black Friday sales and Super Bowl parties, where we women often serve before savoring. open to the whispers of intuition, the gut knowing that skips the holiday office bash for a solo hike in the Rockies, boots crunching truths underfoot. I've heated mine in reinventions, a blog born from late-night musings in a Minneapolis high-rise, palms open to subscribers who became soul sisters, sharing their own unclenchings over virtual coffee clatches, and you, with palms that have applauded graduations and wiped fevered brows, open them to the day's driftwood treasures, a cardinal's flash in your rear view on the commute, a colleague's unexpected compliment that lingers like perfume. Whispers fill the spaces, of forgiveness for the sister who skipped your milestone birthday, of delight in a flash mob at the mall, turning strangers into synchronized joy. In this openness, healing flows freer than the Mississippi afterthaw, carrying debris but depositing gold, memories of girls' trips to Vegas, slots chiming like laughter, or quiet epiphany vigils with candles and confessions. Let your palms whisper back, fingers flexing like wings testing air, ready for flights you've postponed for practicality's sake. America's given us platforms for that. Podcasts from garages in Austin, where voices like yours rise raw and real, palms open to the echo of Me Too. So hold them there, open and empty, and feel the whispers settle. Not answers, but allies, soft as the down of thistle in autumn winds. They've carried me through chemo waits in sterile rooms, palms open, to the nurse's touch, and through triumphs, like publishing that essay on midlife magic in a women's lit mag, words spilling like liberated birds. Yours will too, opening to the poetry of possibility, the promotion that demands vulnerability, the date that might rewrite loneliness into duet. In these whispers, we find not lack, but latitude, space to breathe, to be, palms upturned like altars to our own unfolding. And as they fill, slowly, with light's quiet largest, remember, openness isn't loss. It's the gateway to everything we've always deserved, whispered on the wind of our becoming. Word count, 2100. Ripples of eager dawn. Dawn has this eager way about it, doesn't it? Eager like a puppy nosing at your hand before breakfast, tail thumping promises of play, or like the first notes of a gospel choir swelling in a Harlem church, pulling you into harmony before you even know the words. I felt that eagerness ripple through me at 52, on a Greyhound bus from LA to Vegas for a women's conference, the kind with keynotes on empowerment and breakout sessions on elder wisdom, windows streaked with desert dawn, my reflection rippling back a woman who traded caution for curiosity after years of safe harbors. Now, as ripples spread in this sharing, I sense yours too, maybe in the eager lap of Lake Michigan waves against your Chicago pier, or the tentative thrill of a first online date app swipe in Atlanta's humid haze, heart rippling with what-ifs we've long shelved. Eagerness isn't naive. It's reclaimed, isn't it? Born from the ashes of plans that burned, careers derailed by recessions, romances fizzled in the fade of long-distance calls across time zones. I've rippled with it through a sabbatical in the Finger Lakes, kayaking at sunrise, paddle-dipping echoes of effort that built to glide, mirroring how we women propel through midlife's currents, from PTA presidencies to passion projects, from minivan moms to marathon finishers crossing lines drawn in our own sand. Picture a ripple circle at that conference, hands linked under casino chandeliers repurposed for soul sharing, women from all over, ripples of stories cascading, the rancher from Wyoming who opened her palms to widowhood's waves, finding eagerness in full births at dawn, the tech exec from Silicon Valley whose layoff rippled into a food truck empire, sense of tamales drawing crowds and kin. Eagerness, she said, eyes sparkling like slot machine lights, is dawn's dare. Will you dip a toe? And dip we did, ripples spreading from laughter over lost loves, that prom date who ghosted, resurfacing via Facebook with apologies aged like fine wine, to the deeper dives of dreams deferred, like writing that novel during NaNoWriMo nights, fueled by chamomile and chutzpah. Dawn's eagerness ripples in us because we've earned its buoyancy, haven't we? Through the undertows of hot flashes that disrupt summer block parties and the swells of empty calendars post-retirement, where eagerness whispers, what now becomes what next? I've ridden those ripples on bike paths in Minneapolis, tires humming hymns to motion, past lakes mirroring skies that shift from slate to sapphire, each petal a pulse of possibility after my own reinvention. A podcast launched from my basement, guests rippling in with tales of triumph over trials, from custody battles won in quiet courtrooms to creative sparks ignited in pottery classes for empty nesters. You feel it too, I bet. The eager tug when you sign up for that painting workshop in New Orleans, brushes dipping into jazz-hued oils, or when you host a solstice supper in your Oregon backyard, fireflies dancing like eager stars to your playlist of soul-stirring anthems. Ripples of it touch the edges of our fears. The what if of solo travel to Yellowstone, geysers erupting like inner eruptions long suppressed, the thrill of voting in local elections, voice rippling into community choruses that amplify the marginalized. In America's eager dawn, from dawn patrols on Hawaiian beaches to dawn markets in Miami's Little Havana, we learn to let ripples carry us, not capsize. Remember the Women's March in D.C.? Feet pounding pavement in pink hats, ripples of resolve spreading from signs to souls, eagerness forging solidarity in chants that echoed off monuments. My heart rippled then, mending fractures from family feuds over politics, turning division to dialogue over diner pancakes the morning after. So let dawn's eagerness ripple through you now, soft waves lapping at shorelines of self-doubt, eroding the cliffs we've clung to, the ones built from comparisons at high school reunions or the mirror's morning judgment. Feel it spread, from fingertips tingling with the urge to text that old friend, to chest expanding with breath drawn deep as a Delaware delta. We've rippled through so much, the eagerness of first homes bought with scraped-together down payments, keys turning like promises, the quiet swells of healing after therapy breakthroughs, journals filling with ripples of release. As they build, these waves, imagine them carrying seashells of strength, smooth, sea-worn, treasures from tides we've tided. Eagerness isn't rush, it's rhythm, dawn's gentle pulse inviting you to swim, not sink. In that swim, healing surfaces, buoyant as a cork in the Gulf, lifting you toward horizons where midlife isn't midpoint but launchpad. Trust the ripples, sister. They've brought you here, eager and alive, ready to make waves of your own, under skies that never tire of beginning again. Embrace of loving. Stretch. Stretching into love. It's like reaching for that low branch heavy with summer peaches in a Georgia orchard, arms extending not just for fruit, but for the feel of abundance brushing your skin. Juice, already sweet on the promise. I discovered that stretch in my late 30s, during a divorce that left me folded small in a therapist's office in Boston, but slowly, through weekly walks in the common, limbs loosening, to the crunch of fallen leaves, I learned love's embrace isn't clung to. It's stretched toward, open-armed like a hug from a long-absent aunt at a family reunion barbecue. Whispering this to you feels like extending my own arms, across the miles to your living room in Phoenix or your balcony in Brooklyn, where city lights mimic stars and stretch the night into something navigable. Love's stretch comes after the contractions, doesn't it? The squeezes of single parenting through soccer seasons and science fairs, or the pangs of friendships faded like Polaroids in attic boxes. I've embraced it in stretches of solitude, like that solo cruise up the inside passage, fjords framing my figurehead self, arms wide to whale spouts that sprayed blessings back. Women's embraces, in this country of ours, are legendary, Think of the group hugs at Lollapalooza after parties, sweat slicked and soul deep, or the tender stretches of arms around grandkids at Thanksgiving tables, groaning with turkey and tails. One embrace that lingers is from a memoir workshop in Asheville. Circle of writers stretching words into wounds healed. A poet from Texas unfurling verses of lost fertility, arms metaphorically open to adoptions that bloom later. A novelist from the Pacific Northwest embracing her queerness post-50, stretches of storylines that mirrored her own arc from hidden to heralded. Love stretches us, she read, voice cracking like good leather, until we're supple enough for the next bend. And supple we become, embracing the stretch through yoga flows in Central Park at equinox, bodies bending to autumn's arc, or through the emotional elongations of apologies aired over wine tastings in Napa valleys, vintages as layered as our layers peeled. Feel that embrace now, arms lifting not in demand, but in delight, stretching toward the love that's always orbiting, in the barista's wink with your usual pour-over, in the email chain with sisters plotting a girl's getaway to the Keys, conch shells collected like love letters from the sea. I've stretched into it post-heartbreak, arms flung wide on dance floors at wedding receptions, twirling with strangers who became sparks, reminding me love isn't hoarded, but hurled like frisbees at beach picnics. You know the stretch, the one after breakups sealed with slammed doors, arms aching to hold, but learning instead to hover, open to the love self-sewn in morning pages or midnight mixes of Motown for road trip therapies. In America's loving embrace, from Harlem's soul food suppers, where plates pass hand to heart, to rodeo reunions in Cheyenne, where cowboys and kin clasp tight, we stretch beyond borders of blood and belief. Remember those virtual hugs during lockdowns, screens stretching distances into intimacies, arms pixelated but pulses synced? Mine stretched then, embracing a neighbor's loss over fence-line chats, turning isolation to interconnection. So let love stretch envelop you, arms arcing like rainbows after Midwest, monsoons, colors vivid against storm-cleared skies. It's in the elongation that we expand, stretching past the mirror's critique to the embrace of bodies that birthed, battled, and bloomed. Past the ledger of losses to the ledger of loves, ledgered in laughter lines. Imagine arms weaving through wildflowers and prairie preserves, pollen dusting like fairy godmother spells, stretching you toward tomorrows textured with tenderness. The mentorship you offer a young colleague over coffee clatches, or the self-date to a matinee where plot twists mirror your own. Healing happens in that stretch, elongating scars into stories sung at open mics in Austin, voices vibrating with vulnerability's valor. We've embraced it through migrations, coastal to heartland, arms outstretched to new zip codes that birth new bonds, and through stagnations, stretching inertia into intention with vision boards pinned above desks cluttered with dreams deferred. As arms rise and fall, feel the loving pull, not taut but tender, like hammock sway inviting surrender. Love stretches us toward wholeness, one embrace at a time, from the fervent clasp at labor wards to the lingering hold at airport goodbyes. In that hold, find your stretch, supple, soaring, ready to embrace the dawn's endless invitations. And sister, in stretching to love, we don't just reach, we receive, arms full of the grace we've grown to hold. Sighs of grateful release. A sigh. It's the body's poetry, isn't it? That long, languid exhale after holding breath through a storm, like the collective gust from a crowd at a Broadway finale, curtains falling on tension as applause rises. I sighed one such release at 47, in a cabin off the Blue Ridge Parkway, rain pattering like impatient fingers on tin roof, my sigh mingling with mist as I let go of a decade's grudges against a sister whose choices had shadowed our holidays like uninvited thunderclouds. Grateful for the release? Yes, sighs that carve space for light. Much like how we women sigh into the steam of spas in Sedona, hot stones melting knots from shoulders bowed under backpacks of blame. I'm sighing this with you now, a shared breath across coffee-scented mornings in your Denver kitchen or lavender-laced evenings on your Savannah veranda, where Spanish moss drapes like sighs of ancient oaks. Release comes gratefully after the grip, doesn't it? The vice of diets that promise perfection but delivered defeat, or the clutch on control during family crises that escalated from whispers to wildfires over festive feasts. I've sighed them out on solo retreats in the Sonoran Desert, arms akimbo under starfields, grateful for the vastness that swallowed smallnesses. Petty jealousies from book club rivalries, the sting of promotions passed over for younger faces. Picture a sigh circle at a wellness fair in Austin, women gathered in tie-dye and turquoise, exhaling choruses of release. The empty nester from Florida sighing away echoes of baby cries into yoga nidras. The entrepreneur from Seattle grateful sighing stock options that freed her for soul work, sighs rippling like longhorns at dusk. Gratitude, one murmured, sigh soft as sage smoke, is the sigh that stays. And stays it does, weaving through our days like the grateful exhales at Juneteenth celebrations, bodies swaying to drums that beat out freedom's hard-won, releasing chains of history into harmonies of here. Feel the sigh build in you, chest rising then falling like ocean swells off Maine coasts, grateful for the tide that takes what you no longer need, the weight of what-ifs from paths not taken, like that art school deferred for accounting degrees and stable salaries. I've released in sighs during pilgrimages to Graceland, Elvis's ghost crooning sighs of soulful surrender, mirroring my own after layoffs that left resumes ragged but spirits stretched. You sigh them too. The grateful gust after apologies bridged gaps at high tea gatherings, porcelain cups clinking like released resentments, or the deep draw after therapy epiphanies, couch sunk and soul stirred. In America's sigh of release, from the windy exhales of Chicago's lakefront jogs to the humid sighs of Louisiana bayou boat rides, we learn gratitude isn't gritted teeth, but given breath. Remember those pandemic porches, sighs shared over massed waves, grateful for threads of connection in unraveling times? Mine sighed then, releasing isolation into invention, a community garden plot where hands in soil sighed stories of sustenance. So let gratitude's sigh unfurl, long and lovely as a ribbon in a Memorial Day parade, carrying colors of courage and calm. It's in the release that room appears for new narratives, like the memoir you pen in stolen hours, pages sighing with truths long locked, for embraces renewed, arms open at class reunions where old flames flicker to friendships fanned fresh, healing sighs gratefully, exhaling toxins like chimney smoke from hearth homes, leaving hearths warm for what's welcomed. We've released through rituals, vision quests in Utah canyons, sighs echoing off red walls, potluck prayers in Midwest church basements, dishes passed with whispers of woe lifted. As the sigh escapes, feel lightness lift you, grateful as geese in V formation over amber autumn fields, wings whispering well done. Grateful release isn't erasure, it's elevation, sighing you toward sunsets streaked with possibility, the call that mends a mother's silence, the hobby that blooms into business over Etsy sales. In that breath out, sister, find your in, space for joy's quiet inhale, for love's lingering loop. Sigh it all, the shoulds of societal scripts, the scars of summers spent shrinking, and emerge, grateful, gleaming, ready to receive the dawn's devoted dawn. Word count, 2,150. Haven of stillness. Within stillness, it's the haven we build brick by breath, isn't it? A secret garden tucked behind the frenzy, like the quiet alcove in a New York deli where you sip matzo ball soup amid the lunch rush, world blurring to a hum while your soul sips peace. I found mine at 55, in a tiny cabin in the Black Hills. No Wi-Fi to whisper distractions, just the wind through pines, sighing invitations to sit, to be. After decades of doing that dizzied me, from PTA whirlwinds to wedding planning frenzies that left checklists longer than guest lists. Now, this haven unfolds for you, a stillness shared in the soft glow of your bedside lamp in Omaha, or the firefly-flecked hush of your Texas patio, where crickets compose cradle songs for the weary. Within us, that haven waits, patient as a lighthouse off Oregon's rugged coast, beams steady through fogs of forgetfulness and fatigue. We've sought it after the storms, haven't we? The tempest of teens slamming doors or tables turned at holiday haggles, stillness the eye where we recenter, compasses recalibrating to true north. I've nested in it during artist residencies in Marfa. Desert nights still as held breath, haven from the chatter of critique groups that once clipped my creative wings. Imagine a stillness supper in a Santa Barbara vineyard, women with wine glasses half full, havens shared in toast to trials transcended, the widow from Kansas crafting quilts from her loss, stitches stilling sorrow into solace, the lawyer from D.C. finding haven in hot yoga havens, poses melting caseload carapaces. Stillness, she breathed, voice of velvet hush, is the haven where heroes heal. And heal we do, in havens hewn from habit, morning journals in Maine, lobster shacks, pens scratching stillness into story, evening soaks in clawfoot tubs in Charleston inns, salts dissolving day's detritus. Feel you're within haven now, a cocoon of calm amid the maypole of midlife, spinning plates of podcasts and parent-teacher conferences, stillness the pause that prevents plummets. In America's havens, from the hushed halls of the Met to the meditative mazes of cornfield labyrinths in Iowa, we claim quiet as kin. Remember those lockdown libraries, books as still anchors in stormy seas, pages turning to inner oceans explored? Mine became a haven then, shelves sighing sagas of survival that stilled my spinning mind. So settle into your stillness, haven unfolding like lotus in a lily pond, petals parting to reveal the pearl within, the wisdom won from wanderings, like backpacking the Appalachian Trail solo at 40, blisters birthing breakthroughs. You've built yours too, the haven of herb gardens in Houston heat, Basel whispering wellness, the sanctuary of song circles in Sonoma, voices vibrating vibrations of validation. Within, stillness stills the shoulds, should be thinner, should be further along, replacing with is enough, is evolving, is embracing. Healing havens here, not in hustle but hush, where hearts hum, harmonies long hushed. We've wandered to them through whims, flash retreats to Finger Lakes wineries, vines veiling vulnerabilities voiced over verjuice, steadfast days, in family farmsteads, milking cows at dawn to milk moments of meaning. As stillness settles, feel the haven hold you, gentle as grandmother's apron strings, tying you to traditions of tenacity, from suffrage parades past to modern marches present. In this within whisper, release the reins, let haven harbor hopes, the novel's next chapter, the nest refeathered with newfound fervor. Stillness isn't stasis, it's springboard, launching you from lair to light, ready to ripple radiance. Sister, your haven awaits. Step in, sigh deep, and let the stillness sing you home to the self that's always been your truest sanctuary. Word count, Ars 1720, gentle return to radiant, now returning. It's the gentlest of homecomings, isn't it? Like wandering back to that corner bookstore in your hometown after years abroad. Shelves familiar as freckles, pages promising no judgments, just the rustle of rightness. I return to my radiant, now at 60, post a cross-country move from bustling Boston to lazy Louisiana bays, unpacking boxes that held not just china, but chapters closed, the now glowing with the grace of grandkids' giggles echoing off bayou banks. This gentle return whispers to you, drawing you back to your own radiant core, perhaps in the steam of a Seattle shower after a soggy commute, water washing away worries, or the flicker of a candle on your Miami mantle, flames dancing like distant dreams reclaimed. Now is where radiance roots, isn't it? After detours through doubts, diets derailed, degrees delayed, desires dimmed by daily grinds, returning feels like flipping to the frontispiece of your life story, radiant with reread revelations. I've gentled into mine on gallery walks in Savannah squares, art aglow under gas lamps. Returning to the painter, I pause for practicality's paycheck. Picture a return ritual at a women's wisdom weekend in the Ozarks. Circles closing with chants of now, radiant shares spilling. The baker from Bakersfield reclaiming recipes from her mother's margins. Ovens now alight with ancestral aromas. The dancer from Detroit twirling back to stage lights after desk-bound decades. Hips heralding hallelujahs. Radiance, she spun, sweat silvered and serene, is the now we return to, gentle as grace notes. And gentle it is, this return, through Tai Chi and Taipei-inspired parks in San Gabriel Valley, flows folding past into presence, through gratitude garlands at Yuletide yarns in Vermont villages, threads tying tomorrows to today's treasures. Feel the pull now, radiant returning like salmon to spawning streams, instinctual and inevitable, shedding scales of shoulds for the shine beneath. In America's now, from neon nows of Times Square ticker tapes to tranquil nows of Tahoe trails, we reclaim radiance as right. Remember those election eves, returns not just of votes, but to voices long voiceless, radiant in rallies that lit the night? Mine returned then, penning postcards to possibilities, now nested in neighborhoods nourished by neighborly nods. So glide into your gentle now, radiance rising like yeast in dough, proof of proofs patiently punched down then puffed to plenty. It's in returning that we rekindle, rekindling recipes for rebellion like sourdough starters from pandemic pantries, rekindling relations over reconciliation rambles in Rocky Mountain meadows. Radiant now holds the hues we've hidden, the henna artistry from heritage hands, at Diwali dances in Dallas diaspora, patterns pulsing with pride, the poetry penned in porch pendulums, swaying sonnets of survival. Healing returns gently, not with fanfare, but fingerprint, unique as your laugh echoing at Lake House luau's, or your resolve radiating from runs along Rio Grande rivers. We've returned through reckonings, retreats in redwood reveries, roots reaching radiant realities, routines rewritten in recipe books, now spiced with spontaneity. As now enfolds you, feel radiance ripple, gentle as gesso on canvas, base for bold brushes yet to bold. Returning isn't regression, it's renaissance. Now the nave where your narrative narrates anew, the apology aired at anniversary toasts, bridging bygones. The avocation ascended to vocation via vocational visions voiced in vision quests. In this radiant return, sister, bask in the now's nurturing, nurture the novelist within, notebooks now narratives, nurture the nomad, maps marking meanders to marvels, gentle, always gentle, like the return of robins to rhododendron realms, song signaling spring's sure summons. Your now awaits, radiant and ready, a homecoming where every step sings of sovereignty reclaimed. Step in, stay, and let the light of this luminous present light your way forward, forever.